where my mom's at. Raising kids, cleaning shit, sweet along.
Let's do this kids in Japan. We got a lot of business to catch up on, you guys. I'm big in Japan.
Children in Japan walking to school by themselves was really shocking to me as an American, as there's definitely a lot of safety concerns in America, especially with children that young. So seeing them get around in a big city like Tokyo by themselves was definitely shocking.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I mean, how old are these kids? Maybe
They're teeny tiny. They're like kindergartners, second graders. Like
Ellis's age.
Yeah. Imagine Ellis walking from home to preschool.
Nope.
You know what it is? I feel like America just probably has the biggest concentration of diddlers or something. Because, I mean, all the parents here are super scared. And in every other country, they're like, they're fine. I walk to school. I'm fine.
Well, here's where it can work. I mean, I don't know how old these children are. These children do look really. I'm saying they look 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Now, the other day, I let Ellis kind of do something a little on his own. Like he could go up. We were at a public place. I was like, yeah, go do that thing and come back. And he's got the awareness now. Yeah, he can do that. But like, I don't know, getting distracted by strangers or weird. Yeah, there are too many predators. I'd be afraid.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, because we're constantly living in a time that's always been the safest time that the world has ever been in.
Right.
And I think it's just
worse.
The news that's like, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. And so we're being tricked into thinking that we live in a much more dangerous society than we do. And I think American media is what's doing it, and then everywhere else is just kind of keeping it real.
I wonder. Yeah, I definitely think there's something to that I think the 90s really tapped into hysteria over molestation, especially, you know, like the McMartin preschool trial. There was a story that these children were being molested in a preschool.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was horrendous. And so that, you know, I think it turned out that they weren't or something. Like later they were interviewing. It was a long story, but it created a hysteria. And that's when they really found that they could sell abuse, stories of children being abused, kidnapped, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it is being hyped. I don't know if Japan is truly maybe a safer system, maybe safer overall.
I don't know. Maybe it's just foreigners are able to like give less of a shit about how their kids turn out. Because I mean, like even didn't you have a story where you're like, oh yeah, we lived in the Night Stalker's neighborhood and my dad didn't even close the windows.
Didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Night Stalker. The summer of '84, I believe. The Night Stalker would climb into people's windows and like kill and sexually assault children, people, old people, whoever. Yeah, and he would tag. The saying was "Yellow houses by the freeway." We lived in a yellow house by the freeway.
Oh my God.
In Canoga Park. And I didn't give a shit. Like it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, your dad's just like, hey, we're not turning the AC on. You leave a window open.
Yeah, totally. And also in Los Angeles, I took public transportation from the time I was 12. My parents let me take the bus up and down Ventura Boulevard or whatever. But understanding that they came from a country. So my parents grew up in Hungary during communism, and the communists, the one positive side, I don't think there are many, is that the community was so safe because they rounded up any riffraff, any bullshit, and threw you in a gulag. So the fear kept people on the straight and narrow. And the way my dad talks about it, like, cause he was like that, like he would take the public transportation systems in Budapest, and he would walk everywhere as a child and go everywhere and hitchhike everywhere as a teenager because it was safer and your community looked out for you. So for instance, if you were getting into some monkey business, the neighbor would go and tell your mom like, hey, your kid's doing some fucking nonsense. You know, you better what's the word I'm looking for? Rein him in.
Right.
Or whatever. So the community itself was, in fact, safer because they were so locked down. So I don't know.
Because, I mean, but there were more, like, I feel like every other country has always had the mentality of, like, oh, it takes a village to, you know, create an adult, as opposed to over here where, you know, I haven't known, like, since maybe when I lived with my parents, I knew the names of my neighbors, but after that, fucking,
I
don't even talk to my neighbors.
it.
I had no idea who the hell they are, you know?
No. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, in LA?
Yeah, that's so weird.
I did as an adult. Like when you start buying a house, like when you buy a house, that's different. Because then people become invested in their neighborhood and their children. And especially when you start having kids, that's different. But I think when you're renting, you're just like, who? I don't know.
No, yeah, my mom, like, I remember when my mom would come and visit me, like, she'd be like, hey, like, do you ever ask your neighbors to, like, cook, like, extra Pakistani food or wherever the fuck they're cooking? Like, in there?
Nah.
It's like, what? No, why would I ever talk to them? Like, I don't want them knowing what I do. I don't want to know what they do. I just want to keep it private.
I know. Well, I think it's, like I said, when you have kids, because our neighbors are real friendly, and our neighbor brought over cookies he baked for us the other day. I was like, what? And that's he's a chef, like he's for a living.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I was like, this is amazing.
Well, you know what? Actually,
What?
in college, and this lady was actually super smart, because we lived in a college town. So, like, every year, like, if there's normal people living, like, in this area, they try to make sure that they're friends with, like, their college student neighbors. So that if you throw ragers and shit, like, it's like, you don't have to, like, start, hey, man, can you keep it down? It's fucking 4 o'clock. I don't want to call any cops. Like, they could just text you and be like, hey, I got work tomorrow. And then you're like, oh, you know what? They bring me, like, pancakes and breakfast burritos every couple months. Why not, treat them nice?
That is so true. That's so true. Because when I didn't know my neighbors, and you're a kid partying, you're just a dick. You're like, I don't give a shit. I don't know you.
Right. You're always like, fuck that person. And then they turn into the person that brings you, like, pancakes, like, once a month. And you're like, oh, you know what? I'd love to get those pancakes again next month.
It's so true. You win people over just by being kind. So much easier. It's so much fucking easier. So that was interesting. I found that one on TikTok. Kids in Japan just walking. I imagine you're so used to seeing it when you live in Japan. If you live there, you're like, oh, that's a kid going to school. Why would I bother them? Why would I fuck with them? Why would I steal them?
I mean, it's like that in Israel too.
Oh, I bet.
Like, I remember all my cousins when they were growing up. It was just like, oh yeah, I walked. What did I walk? Like 5 kilometers, which I don't know what that is. Like fucking 3 miles. I don't know how long that is, but
fuck a kilometer.
It'd be like they would take 3 buses and like a short bike ride, and it's like you're fucking doing a triathlon to get to and from school.
I know. I also too, like, growing up, at least when I was a kid, taking the bus around here, it was safer-ish. Yeah, LA wasn't as crazy back then. I don't know, dude. Probably was. We just didn't know it. There was like freeway shootings and shit back then. Right. People would just shoot you on the freeway.
On the freeway? I do not remember that.
Oh, freeway shootings? Yeah.
No.
Yep. That was late 80s, early 90s. People would just get shot at on the freeway.
That was just the road rage phase we were in?
Yeah, it was. People were so angry at being in traffic, they would just pull out guns and shoot people.
Wild.
Where my mom's at? Where my mom's wearing thongs, hitting bongs at? Raising kids, cleaning shits, need a long nap. Where my mom's at?
Where my mom's at?